So as you can see, there is only one bike here, my Honda 300L. If you were here for my last video, well, not the last one where we rode through the military camp, but the previous one where I was talking about KTM 890 being on my mind, thinking about selling or trading in my Africa Twin. Okay, I think I just spoiled it, right? So let's go on and take a walk out here. We're gonna go into my backyard and we're gonna talk about what I did, why I did it, and just kind of leave it right there. Why I went and picked up this 2023 KTM 890 Adventure. So the first point I want to cover here is this is not a I hate or let's bash and let's hate on the Africa Twin. This is not a let's hate on or let's bash the KTM 890. That's not what it is here. It's more or less me, the rider. Why? This is my tool, right? What am I looking for? And this is just a tool, the bike, you know what I mean? I'm going to state a lot of pros and cons about both of these bikes. This is not a review of the KTM 890. I do have right at 700 miles on this. I drove 3.5 hours roughly up to Birmingham, Alabama on my Africa Twin to trade it in to get this bike, and then I rode this back on the highway, some back roads at night and all that stuff. So it was a blast. I put some good miles on it, but you all know me. I think I need to be at like 1,000 miles to truly review a bike. I don't know. I can give you some good first impressions, and I'll probably piece some of those in here, but this is not the review of that. That will be coming shortly. So make sure to subscribe and hit the bell for those videos. But where I want to start is the follow-up of my last video where I talked to you guys and I said, yo, I really need help with this. I'm debating on selling the Africa Twin, my dream bike. I absolutely love that thing. And again, not being a bash video, but I personally, my opinion, I don't think there is a better looking adventure bike than the Africa Twin. This thing, you know, when you look at it online or you look at videos, and probably even right here, it's kind of like, I don't know, you can't pull it apart, you know? When you're sitting in front of it, it's a good looking bike. It really is. No, it doesn't look as good as the Africa Twin in my opinion. Okay, I'm not stating that. The headlight, some people are like, the headlight looks a little weird. It grew on me. I really like that. It's almost like these bug eyes. I don't know. I really like it. The orange, black, and white. You all know black, white, and red. That's what I absolutely love. Honda red. My goal was like, yo, I'm going to peel these decals off. Now, of course, the decals are into the plastics right here, so you can't do that. But the orange, just sitting in a dealer, right? It grew on me. And that could be one thing right there is, again, as I stated in my previous video, KTMs were never even in my mind. It wasn't something I considered as an adventure bike. There's no dealers really around us. We got one up about an hour from us, hour and a half, something like that. And they got minimal inventory of KTMs usually. So even if you go in there, you don't see much orange, if any. You know, this dealer I went to up North Alabama, they had a whole bunch. And just sitting in there, it grew on me. I'm like, all right, cool, I can get down with this. Hence the reason I bought that. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I bought the KTM tank bag, $150 tank bag, because again, my goal was to black it out, cover it up or whatever. But again, buying the tank bag and everything, it just grew on me, you know? So again, that I can push aside. The looks are subjective, the color's subjective, but again, looks and color, they're not gonna get us through our ride. And that's where we really get into the meat and potatoes of this topic, getting us through our ride, right? And there's a lot of ways we can take this here, and I want you to calm down, because I know the first thing that's going to come out of a lot of people's mouths down in the comments is reliability. Again, you all know I don't know much at all about KTM. I can read forums, I can watch videos all day long. And even in a lot of the videos I watch in these, loaner bikes, media bikes, they might have them for 1,000 miles, a few months or something like that, you know what I mean? And a lot of them state, well, you hear about the reliabilities. You go to this and that, you know? In my core experience, talking with people that have traded in Africa Twins for KTM, I was on Facebook talking with people, reading comments rather than the core, you know, topic of the video. You go down and read the comments where the owners chime in. And again, it's really hit or miss. And when you think about hit or miss with reliability, well, that's any bike, right? Africa Twin, for example. And again, I want to chime how I stated in the beginning, this is not bashing. This is just out there, you know what I mean? The Africa Twin, some people say they got the fork leaks, you know? The display on the Africa Twin, the touchscreen, it's actually a warranty claim right now, a recall or whatever. The touchscreen doesn't work. Sometimes it go black. Sometimes the you know, to get like a line through and kind of jitter. And that did happen on mine. It went black once, it wouldn't come up. The touch wouldn't work. But tech is, you all know I got another tech channel, so I'm a little bit of a nerd, right? Tech is tech. It's always going to be finicky. For example, the Africa Twin, you can just turn it off, turn it back on, and well, then you're good to go. So it never really bothered me enough to say, okay, well, let me go drop it off for a couple weeks at a dealer, let him get the part, do this, that, the other. I was like, I want to ride. So let me just turn the key off, hit it back on, and we're good to go, you know? Again, that may affect a little people more, like, yo, let me get it fixed, let me deal with that. For me, again, tech's finicky, and I'm fine with that. I understand with that. I'm around it daily, and I could get around that. So, again, hit or miss, right? People at the KTM 890, they talk about the screen fogging up. Now, the 2023s, I believe they changed the screen. They changed the windshield, which I'm going to talk about here in a second and stuff. They changed the seat as well. Again, it's finicky. It's hit or miss. So, the reliability thing, I think, is just built up this topic online, and people fuel off it and they keep going. Again, I'm not backing up KTM. Trust me, when I have a problem with this bike, I'm going to let you know. If I had a problem with my Honda bike, I'll let you know. You know what I mean? And again, that's kind of how I go about it. You know, I was on some KTM forums or even Honda forums, and some people I know, I see them in there, and people are talking like 300L forums, and people will talk about different bikes, KTM bikes. Oh, hey, well, good luck with all the, you know, the repairs and warranty. And I'm like, I know this person. They don't have a KTM. They never had one. How are they bashing it so much when they don't have one? You know, it's and that's again what it is, right? That's just the internet, right? That's the internet. They fuel off each other and it keeps on going. You know, trust me. I work, right? My job is on the internet. You know, so that's I can push that aside. The other thing as far as reliability, I'm not saying I don't care about it, right? Because I like getting in the woods. I like going far. I like touring. I like getting lost, you know, and that's why I have a Jeep, because I love doing similar stuff on my Jeep that I do on my bikes, right? And this is my second Jeep I bought. My first one, check engine light came in at 800 miles, and I traded that thing in the following week, right? I was like, I did not spend 50 some odd thousand bucks on a Jeep for a check engine light to come on. And I, again, traded in, believe it or not, I traded in a Jeep Gladiator for a Honda Ridgeline, a Honda Ridgeline Black Edition. Awesome truck. People are going to hate on it, right? Called the grocery getter truck. But it was a fantastic truck. So kind of same example, right? Traded in the Jeep for the Honda, right? Got rid of the Honda. I think I went into a Tesla first, and then anyways, now I'm in another Jeep Gladiator. Why? Because it's such a fun vehicle. It's versatile. It's functional. It's exciting. It takes me where I want to go. You know what I mean? And that's what it boils down to, really, you know, and I can go the same route over here with the 890 as far, or KTM in general, as far as reliability. So, again, I'm going to stick with the hit or miss. Trust me, I'll make a video if something goes on with it. But at the core, again, before you comment down below, oh, well, your reliability, your Honda is more reliable than a KTM, just think about it. Like, have you owned one? Do you actually know someone? Have you physically seen it? Or are you reading something, you know, here, because you can read something about every single manufacturer. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not backing one up or the other. I'm just saying, like, we all know how the internet is, so take it easy there. Now let's go and talk about the main reason why I traded in my Africa Twin for the KTM 890. And again, if you watched my previous video, you kind of sum it up right there. But I want to touch on it a little bit more. And it comes to that core of rider rather than bike. Can you do more on the KTM or the Africa Twin? You know, that's really, again, when you boil it up, it's dependent on the rider, right? It's not so much, hey, the Africa Twin can do this, or the 890 can do this, or can't do this, so on and so forth. You can flip that around so many different ways. It's really the rider. It's you. It's me. What are you looking to do? What are you trying to do? Where are you trying to go? That's at the core what it is. And I stated that before in like tire reviews, right? Really look at them. You can watch tire reviews, and how is that person riding? Are you riding like that? Well, maybe that tire might not be for you then. Are you riding like this, a little more crazy? Well, maybe that tire is going to be. And that's how I've talked about it before. Same route you can go with bikes, you know? And that's kind of at the core where you got to look at it, right? Is what are you trying to do with the bike, right? What I was trying to do with my Africa Twin, I could do, but it was hard. It was a handful. It was lofty. Again, top heavy. You know what I mean? I've done so far, again, I had 8,000 miles on my Africa Twin. Over here, I only have 700, so I haven't done nearly as much. But what I've done so far, again, it's been an absolute cakewalk. on this bike. It's night and day. It really is, you know? And that's kind of, when you're talking to other people and people are going to say, well, the Africa Twin's this, the 890's this, or this bike's this. And I notice this a lot, you know, group rides or just meeting other riders on the road and stuff. One thing I want you to do when you're picking bikes apart and you're asking someone about their bike, number one, I want you to, how'd they get there? Are they on their bike, or did they trailer or load it in the back of a car? I've seen people load up Africa Twins. I've seen people load KTMs. And in my mind, me personally, I say, why? I just want to go there and say, why are you doing this? Why aren't you riding that beauty? That's half the adventure. You know what I mean? It's going to take you the same time if you're in a car or on a bike. Why? Now, dual sport, different story, you know, a little tiny bike or something like that. But when I see a big ADV bike like that in the back of a truck or on a trailer, it boggles my mind. Again, that's just me. Other than that, you can go and ask them, how many miles you got on your bike? You know, you can look at their tires. And I've noticed that. So when I'm talking to people, they're raving about this bike and they're talking about it and saying, oh, this, that, or the other. I'm like, okay, well, you've had the bike for a year and you just hit 1,000 miles. You got these street-oriented tires. Okay, you're not riding like me. You know what I mean? But that's fine. I'm not hating on that. That's your style. That's what you're doing. I don't expect you to do what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm not saying that. I'm not hating on them. It boggles my mind, sure. You know what I mean? I like riding with minimal limits. Right? I don't want my tool to hold me back too much, right? I can't do everything on this, you know what I mean? But I can do 90% of what I want to, you know what I mean? I really can. And that's kind of where it just boils up right there. I don't want my tool to hold me back too much. And again, everything I've done on this 890 does it well. Holy smokes, does it do it well. Now, I haven't been on any long road trips. You all know I love hitting the road and just riding. I am actually next week. I'm riding up to Tennessee, North Carolina, whatever, right on that border, and I'm going to go do the Tail of the Dragon. I've been wanting to do it so much. I've been wanting to do it on the Twin and everything. I can take this bad boy up, and this thing, first impressions, this thing rides like a sports bike, right? I mean, you can just tilt it, the gas tank. It's like, have you ever ridden a motorcycle like those video games that they got in the arcade, and you kind of lean over, and then, boop, the little deal, the motorcycle seat kind of pops right up? That's exactly what this feels like. When you're in the corner, it's like, then it's right back up. You know, it's so weird. It's hard to explain. It's something you really got to experience, you know, because again, we got this low gas tank, which again is helping out with that bounce, which helps out off-road. It's, holy smokes, it's night and day. Night and day. Some turns that I would have to take like 14, 15 miles an hour on the Twin. On this, I'm cutting them around 30, 35. I'm still not my preferred. I like taking them a little slower, but again, I could take it that low and I feel comfortable, you know? And that's at the core what it is. But talking about the long road trips, me taking this up to Tennessee, I rode it back from the dealer, which was 3.5 hours on the highway. And it has good wind blockage from here down. Right, on my legs, my waist, great. Down on the feet, obviously better than the Twin even. With Twin, I could move my foot out and it kind of feel like the wind would kind of catch it. Down here, there's none. Now, even though they put this bigger windshield on the 2023s, yo, this thing needs to be taller. This thing, like, I'm above it. I'm probably like right at 6 feet, maybe right there, you know, and it's just whacking me in the face. Now on the Twin, of course, I had my extra windshield. Everything's built up a little bit more. So that bike was built out for me. On this, I've put a phone mount, some foot pegs, you know, and my tank bag on it. I got some other mods coming, but again, I haven't really built this bike out, and I honestly can't even find a windshield for the 2023s yet because they changed out the whole front bit right over here. So again, it does it plenty fine, but again, on a long road trip, it's gonna beat me up. So I bought one of those little clip-ons for now until something comes out, but the upper wind blockage is not as good as the Twin, but the lower wind blockage is better than the Twin. So again, and little things like that. You hear me talk about the wind blockage. Comparing something like this to the Twin, and that's what it is. It's trade-offs, right? The engine is, the Africa Twin sounds miles better, right? This thing, it doesn't sound bad. The exhaust is not much in it. It's almost just very low-toned. You've probably heard it before. It's not as beefy and mean and gnarly as the Twin, you know what I mean? One other thing that really, talking about capability, what I'm looking to do, another thing that really pushed me to get rid of my Twin is DCT, right? You all know I love DCT. I had an NC750X with DCT. I got my Africa Twin with DCT. It's motorcycle technology that I love, and I think everybody should try. It is a absolute blast. I love it. But with me wanting to do more off-road and taking those extra turns, like DCT can get scary at times. It really can. You hit a divot, or if you're coming over a little brim right there, automatically you're gonna lean back, or you're up right there. You accidentally tilt back on that throttle, that bike is gone and you're off it. You know what I mean? It's pretty scary. Like off-road, I almost couldn't use the front brake sometimes. I came to a habit of just keeping my foot on that back brake, and I kind of ride it sometimes. You know, in group rides, people probably got mad, like, why does this guy keep tapping his brakes? He's like this grandma in front of me. You know what I mean? But again, I got into that habit, and it's weird because I'm still in that habit. Like on this, I got to tell myself, okay, I got to use the front brake a little bit. I keep using the back brake just because I'm so used to that on the Africa Twin, you know, just riding that back brake. So DCT, as cool as it is, as awesome as it is, I think it's so cool to open up that experience for other people. For off-roading, I wouldn't recommend DCT. I think I stated that in another video before, but I wouldn't recommend it for off-roading, pending what kind of off-roading you're doing. If you're just cruising along a little fire road, you're probably fine. I don't know, I'd still prefer the manual. And you know, that's where other people are gonna come in. Well, why don't you go with the Africa Twin, the base model, the manual one? You lose the weight, you get the shifter, yada, 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 so on and so forth. And that was a thought. I don't like tube tires. That's one killer for me right there, you know what I mean? But that was a thought, it really was. But even with that, with the smaller gas tank, the lighter weight, because it's not DCT, you got the shifter and all that, this low down weight right here, it is completely game changing. Now I want to pull you over to the bike and show you something that really kind of weirds me out real quick here. Number one, again, just take a look over at the bike. It's, I don't know. Again, the looks have really grown on me. It looks really awesome. The new fairings they put on there really do great with wind blockage. The gas tank down low is phenomenal. But the one thing that weirds me out, okay, let me show you like this before we get on top, right? So look at the bike right here, right? I want you to focus here. You got your seat, comes up. This is where your big gas tank would usually be. I got the tank bag. And then look right here, windshield, okay? All right, so focus on that. And I wanna bring you up here. This is kind of my view of sitting on the bike, right? My head's slightly over the windshield here. But what I want you to look at is right here. So you got your fairing, right down below this is where the tank would usually be. And this kind of comes flat. You got this little dash, kind of like on these cars these days, where they put that screen out just in the middle of the open. It's real weird. But you got that. Your windshield is open over here, so it's like flat. It's almost like seating position. You come forward, bam, and it's completely flat. And again, let me bring you up front and maybe you can see it a little bit better again. Right there. So you can see you got the windshield, no blockage, it's straight through. And that really weirds me out. Now, I see the benefit of it, and I have tested the benefit of it. It's awesome when you're off-road, you see that trail in front of you. You see everything in front of you because you got nothing blocking there. On the Twin, everything came up to like right here, you know? So sometimes I have to peek over, stand up, or look over, you know? This, you see everything, but it really weirds me out. It makes me feel like I'm riding a small bike. It's smaller than the Twin. I get it, it is, you know what I mean? But it makes it feel like I'm riding a really small bike. It's very strange feeling. And yes, it's a strange feeling for me being on a bike that's not a Honda. I'm a Honda fanboy, right? I have Honda vehicles, and it's just, I'm just so used to that quality put together platform. And we'll talk more about that in the review. And I can clearly tell and feel the differences of this KTM compared to the Honda. You know, is it good or bad or whatever? Only time can tell, but it is different. You know, I can't hate on one or the other, but it's different, you know what I mean? And it's a weird feeling. It really is weird, but again, if you stuck with me and actually listened to me talk about my reasonings, right? Not the internet's reasonings or your riding, all right? I don't want that to sound rude or come off bad, but sorry, I'm not riding the same as you. My comfort zone's not the same as you. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less, right? And that's at the core where it sits. And again, I can't say it enough. This bike is like, this 890 is game changing. It's doing everything I wanted. The confidence is phenomenal. And don't let anybody tell you what bike is right for you. Right? Pick them apart. The person that's selling you on a bike and telling you about it, even my videos, pick them apart. Are you riding like that? You riding less than that? Right? And again, don't jump on internet trends and internet hype and fuel off that, right? Think about your situation, the other person's situation, compile that together, and then get constructive. You know what I mean? Internet can be a harsh place. But again, as far as Africa Twin to this KTM 890, wow. It's something else, and I think it's really gonna do what I want to do on an ADV motorcycle. Many more videos to come on this. I'll have first impressions. I'll compare it to the Africa Twin, right? Things I like, things I don't like. I'm gonna be going up to the Smokies, gonna do Taylor Dragon next week, right? And then once I get back from that, I'll have a few thousand miles on it. I'll give you a true user's owner's review. So again, we got a lot of good content coming on this bike. Make sure to subscribe, hit that bell, and I hope to catch you in many more of these adventures. Bye now.